YouTube, what's in the case? It's like, I don't know, can you guess? Oh, well, actually... There's nothing in the case, but, you know what's... Oh, that's a flat. Nothing in it. Yeah, so there you go, original from the 70s. Yeah. Already took the guitar out of the case. Yeah, so it's time to dust out the old Flying V. Give it a bit of a scrape. Strings are ancient. I think I was going to take this in. I looked this up to. I was going to take it in with Kraken House about 6 months ago or a year ago or something like that, and I think I gave up because I realised that if I was carrying my amp and the hard case for this, I didn't have a hand to open the doors in the studio, so I ended up not taking it. I don't think they were ready for the Flying V anyway. So a couple of things that this kind of reminded me very much of. Recently I had a Gibson Marauder copy, which is very similar to this, and also I had a 73, 74 Les Paul. It was like this, very similar to this. This is an Arbiter, which were Dallas Arbiter, made the Rangemaster, one of the shops on, not Carnaby Street, Denmark Street in London, used to import guitars, like so. This is, if you look on the back, a tip for you, steel adjustable neck. It does not have a number, made in Japan, so the steel adjustable neck thing is a Matsumoku. Not all Matsumoku guitars have the steel adjustable neck thing, but if it does have it, it is, assuming it's original to the guitar. Yeah, so I got this a couple of years ago. I even haggled for it, which I shouldn't have done, but I did. In a hell of a state, it really was. It was a total project. Obviously, it came with the case. It was completely disassembled. The neck had snapped. The guitar was more than half covered in ancient silver duct tape. The scratch plate was entirely wrapped in ancient duct tape, and it looked really minging, because obviously the edges gets frayed, and then bits of dirt and hair get stuck to it. It was hideous looking thing. So I went over to see the guy, and I was looking at it, and I saw a few things about it. I mean, I didn't pay very much money for it, but this wasn't the first thing I saw. But talking about Grover tuners, I don't know if you can really see them. Like, you get Grover tuners, and then you get Grover tuners, and then you get Grover tuners. These are obviously what they were like in the 70s. They've got like see this cool sort of nipply bit on the back, just like the shape, kind of like, it reminds me of Devo's hats. You know, Devo have got those hats that are kind of like that. Yeah, I noticed this pickup looked a bit, you notice it's got like a braided wire on it and gold pole pieces. This is a Gibson Dirty Fingers, and see, because it's got the gold bits in it, as soon as I got it, I was like, a number in the back, and I put it on one of the Facebook groups. Someone's like, that's a 1975 Dirty Fingers. It only came in one guitar ever, and it was the 1975 Flying V was the only one that ever had the gold poles on a Flying V pickup. So, I mean, it's like the ultimate Flying V pickup for this guitar. This one in the neck isn't original either. This is a maxxon from the Ibanez at the time had that. See, it's basically just a normal pickup, but it's got this sort of metal cover that's kind of got a gap in it. So neither of these are original. You can see if you look, there's holes where it would have had 3 holes on it for Matsumoku pickups. So they are not original either. I couldn't believe it. I was basically, my thoughts were I was going to paint it. So I peeled off all the tape, and I couldn't believe how okay it was. Someone had started sanding the back, sort of here and here, and I basically coloured it in with one of those brown pens and just gave it a quick varnish just so it didn't get any worse. But you don't even see the back of the guitar, so I mean, looking at it going, it's got that, this is just a Flying V vibe going on about it. This is the 62 one, is it? The one that's got the 3 knobs in it. There's one that's got them in a line. One of them's got a different shaped scratch plate. This is a full faceplate one. The KK Downing number. We'll start playing it in a minute, but also, not Kirk Hammett, James Hetfield, he very famously had a Gibson Flying V, a white one, that they used for the first I think the first few metallic for a good few years of Metallica at the start anyway. And he was always told that his wasn't. It's like people always go, "That's not a real Gibson, mate. They never had a bolt-on neck." That's because it was one of these. His was an Electra, which if you look up West Tone Electra were one of or was it St. Louis Music or something like that in America, was one of Matsumoku Factory's biggest clients. They made a lot of guitars for the brand Electra. That's when Matsumoku started doing their own house brand, if you like, in 1981 when he started making West Tone Thunders and stuff. They'd never really made very many West Tones for America because this Electra brand were their biggest customer, so they don't want to be putting out a competitor to their biggest customer. So then later on there was a sort of West Tone / Electra thing, and there was like things between them. But yeah, so this is not a copy or anything like that of James Hetfield's guitar, but basically this is what his guitar would have looked like when he had it to start with, before he painted it white and put EMGs in it, or whatever it was he did. Yeah, so gotta tune it up. But I don't think there's really any I don't know. Flying V's a weird one. See, if you've never had a shot of one, it's always worth a shot, because I mean it's not the most practical of shapes. Quite a lot of it is look. But I think it's one of those things. When you first get a shot of a Flying V, you'll either go, "Oh my god, this is awful," or you'll be like, "Pure, haha, this is pretty fun." And for me, it was like pure. The first one I ever tried was I think it was a Stag. And it was in the guitar store in Glasgow, which is Victor Morris. And as soon as I put it on, you're like, pure, "Whoa, this is really bizarre," because it's like pure, "Haha, here I am." That would be, I've been used to playing the 25.5. This is obviously Gibson scale. But I used to always describe this pickup as like the opposite of what's in the Washburns, where they are very, very articulate, and any mistakes you make, well, it really punishes you. If you know what I mean, if you hit some of the notes louder than other ones, that you pure notice it with them. Whereas with this guitar, I might not agree with it because I've not actually played it for 10 seconds there, but I remember this one being a bit more even, as in it was much easier to play, and all the notes kind of, it's got like a built-in compressor sort of thing. Less dynamic. Which would actually make it easier to record because the level would be the same all the time. And the trick, if you've ever played a Flying V, the first one I ever played, I said, was that Stag one, and then I made one myself, just guessing how big it was, the Decimator, and then I ended up getting this 6 months later, and then the Decimator was. I wasn't bad with how accurate I was by just guessing the shape of one. Fitted in a hard Flying V case. And you got to put the strap button here. It's a wee bit microphonic, as you can hear. So you can lock this into the inside of your leg. So that level, otherwise it wants to, it's got to be inside your leg so you can hold it up. Somebody absolutely loved this guitar at some point before it was all covered in duct tape and stuff, and then gets sold for peanuts. The most expensive bits, it's like you don't put the most expensive bits on a guitar you don't pure love. It's probably just the fact that they probably didn't make them for very long. I've never seen one exactly the same. I have seen a couple of like Ari ones. Sometimes they've got a serial number on the neck plate, which this one doesn't have. But the serial number's kind of like a bit of a random thing anyway. It's just like it's yeah, that's its serial number, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the one with the serial number before it was from this year, or maybe it's from 5 years ago, or maybe it's from a couple of years in the future. You know, it's just that there was just a box of neck plates that some of them had serial numbers on them. So you can't tell from this era guitar from the serial number what guitar it is. You just see so many copies of Les Pauls. You wonder why there weren't more copies of the other guitars. Because I mean, ideally, I would quite like. I was thinking that one of the guitars I really wanted at some point I was going to get like myself in like a 60s SG special, like a Gibson one, like Tony Iommi's one, something like that. Because they're not that expensive. They're still 1,500 quid or something like that. But considering it cost you $2,500 for a new one, then I would rather have one from the 60s. But I think I'm going to keep my. I'm kind of looking at. They did make this in SG form. I quite fancy having a go at one of them. There are some issues with an SG, like see when you make it a bolt-on neck like this is. You sometimes you can't really copy the shape because there's not enough meat behind there. Whereas in a Flying V, it's pretty much exactly the same shape. Okay, it should be a set neck, but I mean there's plenty of wood here and there's room to put the block without really altering it very much. You know what I mean? It's like a wee bit of a different feel round about here, but everyone else is in the same place. Try the neck pickup. it was some clean, I don't think. It's like one of those ones that, like my SG, I mean, I've obviously got the ability to put push-pull coil splits in this, but really, you want to play, like, clean single coily sounds on a flying V, do you? It's like, I don't think so. I'm sure it'll be alright. See, it's got that directness. Oh, I've just thought of something. I'm going away this week. JPEG's on tour. Business trip. Yeah. I think I'll probably take a bottle of bucky, you know. But I was looking just on, I think, one of the Ibanez Facebook sites, and someone was like, I've got a couple of these pickups, and it's the, looks like the Super 7s that are in my RG 145, maybe Red Star in the corner there. And the first couple of comments were, oh, with readings like that, they're just cheap shite, just throw them away. And it's like, people go like that, and it's like, yeah. And then the guy rightly goes up here, yeah. It's like the actual ohms reading gives you about 10% of what the it describes what 10% of the pickups like. Talked about this all the time because they're only like 4K. It's like there's other things that are involved, as in how big the magnet is and where it is, but what type of magnet it is kind of, rather than the resistance. The resistance tells you what length of wire is wrapped around it. It doesn't tell you what kind of wire it is, and it doesn't tell you what kind of magnet it is. It just tells you how long the piece of wire is. And then the guy's like, yeah, it makes sense. Up here, yeah, sure. I mean, just as a throwaway thing, but weak pickups like this have just no character, and I'm used to better. And I was just like, fucking, I didn't jump straight to, so I just put in a comment, I'm going to disagree with everyone on here and say the pickups are fucking amazing. They're my favourite pickups, single coil pickups there are, because they are. So I'm going to do a video. So if someone looks up Ibanez Super 7 pickups, doesn't go and see the guy who knows it all, who's obviously never played them. 4K resistance, straight in there on your horse, like, oh, it says 4K resistance, that means it's bad. Yeah. Sounds better clean than this does. And as you listen to like a 70s maxxon, which is probably worth a couple £100, and a Gibson Dirty Fingers, which is, I don't know, that amount anyway. I'm pretty sure when I bought it and I looked up, and it was the only one I could find for sale was £350. Which I'll say cost more than what the guitar did. But I did see that pickup when the guy opened the case and it was all in bits and all pure crap. I couldn't believe when I was taking the... I assumed the scratch plate would be completely destroyed because it was, literally, it had been taken off, wrapped in duct tape and then screwed back onto the guitar for 20 years of sweaty gigs. So I was peeling it off thinking, I wonder if I can get something that I can draw around and below it. I couldn't believe it. I took it off and it's like, it's actually the scratch plate's intact. Like, well, there you go. So it is just the original scratch plate. I'll maybe get quite back into it. I might leave this hanging on the wall for a wee bit. I quite like having the Flying V. It's taken me a wee 20 minutes playing it to get kind of used to. You don't hold a Flying V so much as wield it. I mean, I just totally lucked out on this guitar. I didn't really know anything about arbiters. Not necessarily all arbiters are good. Like a lot of these companies, like your Antorias and your CSLs and all that, they basically... Squier didn't yet exist, so they ordered their own guitars and put their own brand name on it from the factories in Japan that were technically going to be making Squiers in 10 years' time anyway, but before Fender found somewhere cheaper to do it. But I think these are more... This is from back in the era when people had one guitar. It'd be very possible that this guitar was a single... Whoever had it had one guitar, and that's why it's upgraded to bits. It's very well played. I mean... Although it looks in terrible condition, it's got wear. It doesn't have damage. So it's not been, it's up here, it's been you see someone's been hitting it with a hammer or scraping it with a knife or none of that's been going on here. I think the neck has been repainted. In fact, the neck has been repainted. I can't even see if it's a 3-piece. It might actually be a 1-piece. Now I was saying this was like the Gibson because the 3-piece neck, I think there's been another neck repair there. At some point in the past, then the neck repair that I repaired was a split down there, and basically the head was kind of hanging off. I could still get in it, so basically I just filled it with PU glue and clamped it, stuck it back together again. At this point, I wasn't really sure whether the guitar was going to be any good. I was just like looking at it, going like that, pure blown And I still feel guilty about it. So the guy was in Cundurret in Cumbernauld, and this is a few years ago, and I went round and he wanted 30 quid for it, and it'd been up for sale for ages. There were weeks in the case, 70s Flying V, and I looked at it. I don't think he'd mentioned the fact the neck was worn. I don't know, but I was looking at it and I asked if the guy would take 20, and they said, was it 40 he wanted? I can't remember. Was a bastard about it anyway. No, it was 40. It was up for ages, and I fucking offered him 20. And he said 25, and I said okay, and then I fucking actually, but why didn't I just give him the 30? I should have. If I could go back in time, I would have just given him the 40 quid, but I didn't. Instead, to get the fiver, I went to the shop round. I went to the petrol station. It was at the end of the street, and bought a couple of cans of Red Bull to get change to give him a fiver. What a dick, eh? But I mean, it's not like I didn't steal the guitar. The guitar was on there for ages, and no one was interested in it. Nobody knew what it was, and it looked fucking awful in the pictures, covered in duct tape and all that. But what it does have, which I found was very aware of as soon as I put it together, it feels like my '68 Gibson EBO, because it's only, I don't know, I'm going to say early '70s probably, so it's only a few years younger than, and the same age as that Gibson, and the same age as that black telly, and all that. It's in that era, and therefore it's got that thing, which you do. I mean, I'll be honest, I have played an $8,000, which wasn't brand new, 59 or 58 Gibson Les Paul, and it was all aged and stuff like that, to make it look like it was from the 50s, and it didn't. There's nobody, even if you've never played the guitar before, you would never pick up that guitar and then pick up this one and say that it was an older guitar than this. You pick up this one, you go, oh, this is really old. It just is. You can't fake that shit. I've seen plenty of ones that look from a distance. As soon as you get up close to them, look at them, and you go, all right, okay. And it's like, it doesn't have that real wear. You can also tell when something's been artificially aged. It doesn't sit right, So there is my Flying V, and a bit like although it's a Gibson SG Special, I have my Flying V. Seems I paid peanuts for it. Same price as a couple of bottles of bucket, a packet of crisps. But it's everything. It does everything that I think a Flying V should be. It's everything. And I have had a fair few. I don't know if I've ever actually had a Gibson one in. I've had a few Epiphone ones and all that stuff, and other makes and more modern ones, and none of them. This is a real one. Although I do, obviously my favourite guitars are the 80s Japanese stuff. Your Westtones and Washburns and stuff like that. There is something about when you play a real Stratocaster and a real Telecaster and a real Flying V. And these feel like them. I know it isn't. I think of it as being a Gibson Flying V because it feels like one, like an old one, not like one of your new shitty ones. It feels like a good one. And it's actually not too bad on clean and quiet. Maybe there's something to do with it. I can mix between the two. I'm totally not ready to stop playing this. I'm going to have to do about 4 or 5 videos this afternoon, but I'm sitting there wondering if I can do a pedal or something so I can continue playing this guitar. This one suffers a little bit from what quite a lot of my guitars these days suffer from, which is when I got it for peanuts, it wasn't quite right, so I had to do work to it, and I didn't necessarily, because I didn't really know what I was doing 10 years ago, whatever it was when I bought this. As I learnt how to do things would move on. So I think the frets are very low on it. Not excessively low, but lower than most. And I think I've done fret jobs on this a couple of times. I think at some point a year ago or something like that, I've taken out and I've set it up as good as I can, and that's why it still plays amazing. I think the neck profile might be that neck profile I don't like. Now that I think about it, it's a Gibson Slim Taper. I remember my pal had an SG and it was up there. I like all neck profiles, and he was like, I don't like the Gibson Slim Tapers. I don't think I've ever tried. I tried this and it was up here. Oh, I don't like that. So it might be a bit like that. It's kind of maybe very similar actually to that. If it'll just be a copy one of that Explorer I had in a couple of, probably before Christmas now. Gibson Explorer might have even been this colour. And I suppose it comes down to I am an Explorer shaped guitar, although I do, to be honest, prefer that shape to the Explorer because it fits in a gig bag. You can lean it against the wall, but you've still got the Explorer thing, whereas the Flying V it's a cooler guitar than an Explorer. I mean, it's obviously you've got to be the right type of person, or like Dave Davies, you can hold it like that and play it. But it's I don't know. It makes you play somewhat a little bit differently. For me, it's making me kind of, I don't know. It's like maybe not playing like Slash, but that kind of attitude of like, fag hanging out your mouth, smoking, drinking a bottle of Jack Daniels with Charlie Watts on the drums, just battering out crunchy riffs. That kind of it's kind of making me do that. I'm gonna try some small amount of less distortion. I mean, it's just got that. What's that? With not so much distortion as well. How's this maxxon doing? To be honest, up until today, I thought the maxxon pickup sounded shit, and it was basically just because it looked cool was in there. That's why I never obviously touched it. Obviously, I don't want to sell the bits for this either. I mean, again, I'm very aware of the fact that I could sell that and then be in profit and still have the guitar. I see, that's all right. Got an almost single coil sound. This pickup doesn't actually sound unlike the ones that were in that 74 Les Paul. They were fancy ones. I can't remember what they were called. The ones with the Gibson logo on them. It's got that not 100% a humbucker sound. I know it is a 100% humbucker, but it's got a brightness to it. This is a fantastic guitar. What the hell am I doing? What the hell am I doing not having this and not playing this? This is... It does have a right... It's almost like it's got like a compressor on it where you... If I play it soft or hard, it sounds the same. But that's not even the pickup I was talking about that did that. It was the bitch pickup I was talking about that did that. I suppose the other thing I've got to say as well is like they're probably not coming about as much as they used to, but from guitars from this era, right, there were ones like some of the, your Les Paul copies and stuff like that did have, like your even ones from Japan didn't have very good pickups in them, or which is probably more accurate for something like my wee black Telecaster there, it's got very accurate pickups in it, which sound, that's not what everyone wanted in the 70s though. You needed, we've got Zeppelin, cranked Marshalls, blah 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 blah, so everyone wanted things that sounded like that. Whereas, you know, the pickups in that, the neck pickup's really, really woolly and muddy, much more than any other pickup I've got, and the bridge pickup's really, really bright and jangly, much more than any other pickup I've got. So you've got like the two extremes, and you can mix together rather than being a useful for everything sound. Whereas this one, it would be the same sort of thing, but it was common then for people to start upgrading their guitars, because you've only got one. So you upgrade it, and the obvious upgrade is you've got your Gibson, you buy DiMarzio Super Distortions, or maybe a very early Seymour Duncan for it. And then you sell the old pickups. So if say you've got this guitar and you want to upgrade the pickups, you can either buy a DiMarzio or a Seymour Duncan, or you look in the paper and you buy the pickups that somebody's taken out of their Gibson. Yeah, and I've had a lot of guitars that I've got pickups like that, especially from this era. This one, I'd imagine, was modded in the 70s or maybe early 80s, something like that, when this stuff got put in it. The same with what went in that. That got upgraded in 1986 or something like that to having a Fender bridge pickup and a Seymour Duncan in the neck, just because that's what you did. In all honesty, that guitar sounds better to me now than it did, because I kept it for a week with the original pickups in it, with the Seymour Duncan in it, and it sounded like other guitars. You know, kind of sounded like the Corker could do, yeah, that kind of thing. With its original pickups, it doesn't sound like any other guitar I've got. Well, within reason, it's like something different, which I like, and this guitar sounds different. But it's always worth looking to see if you get guitars like this that have got an old looking pickup in it, you wonder what it is. Actually, my Aria Urchin I bought, and it had a Gibson T-top pickup in it, and I just stuck that I didn't like the sound of the T-top pickup. It was too much like this. It's got that sort of bright, and it's kind of like a single coil sound, whereas I had the Aria Urchin, I wanted it to sound like a metal machine, because it's so spiky, which it's not. So I sold that pickup, and I think actually, I think I basically just broke even with the guitar. So I basically bought the guitar, sold the pickup for the same amount I bought the guitar for, and then still had the guitar, and then sold that a couple of years ago to pay for the Panda's MOT. Remember doing that? I was really liking that wee Joyo US Dream pedal with a small amount of distortion. But these pickups are distorting really early. So these would be no use for Mr. Metallica, because he's got tons of gain on. I often say this, these things, if you've got up, if you're used to using, I want to have 3 distortion pedals on, and play like that, then okay, this pickup's probably not for you. Because actually, one of the first guitars I got J-Packs was a Flying V. It was an old Hondo one. It didn't have a Flying V headstock on it though, although I did shape it to be a bit more like this. But I mean, the problem with that Flying V was I already had this one, and it was like, I don't need another Flying V. I kind of get that with SGs as well. The reason I've never bought any other ones is because I've got one. I've got the one I wanted. This is the Flying V I wanted. Even though I didn't know I wanted it at the time. I wasn't specifically looking for a Flying V. One of those ones, I better get one of them just to see what it's like. But there you go, ask me, we're doing a gig tonight. Well, you've got a couple of rehearsals, I'm not in a band just now, but would you rather play this or my Les Paul? These are going to start being worth money at some point. It's just that I think the problem is there's not any cast iron guarantee of what it is you're actually buying. They're too there's not enough of them. But I mean, I think this is the sort of thing that you're sitting there going, oh, I really quite fancy. I'll maybe pay a bit of money for a custom shop like relic to feel old guitar where it really, you could be like me and you could buy the wee black one there, this one, that Marauder I had, that Telly, and there are Les Pauls. I'm kind of tempted to buy a Matsumoku Les Paul. There's one I keep seeing them. There's Arbiter ones. I'm not a big Les Paul fan, but I bet you they're like this. But yeah, no, so here's my Flying V. I do actually have another rough V shape. I've got the Baby Metal LTD Arrow, which is, I suppose, sort of like a Flying V, but for me, a Flying V has to have... I can't see the Jackson one with the points. These are too pointy. I don't like it. I don't know why. See, the Aria ones you get, this is the XX it's called. Body the same, got a 6-a-side headstock. No. A Flying V for me, it doesn't need to have... There's two different headstocks. That's the fat one. There's a longer pointy one, like on actual Gibsons. One of them's the 58, one of them's the 62 when they reissued it or something. I think this is the 62. I think the 58's the one that it's got a pointier headstock and it's generally not cherry red. I think these only pretty much come in one colour. But I haven't even mentioned the fact it's pancake construction, but you can see that there. There's a line down the middle there, so it's like top and bottom. Same as that Gibson Les Paul, this 70s one. No issues with that at all. Yeah. So, no, you're not having a Flying V. And yeah, I'm going to leave it out so I can play it a bit more, play it on a live stream, I think. There's something utterly cool about having it. I definitely don't remember taking this into the studio with Kraken House. I should have, because I would have just hated me even more than they did. At times like, look at you, posing there, playing your Frank Zappa stuff. Because I was, can we do something with a bit of a rhythm to it? It's like, no. No, that's fine. No, it's not. It's a lead guitar machine, though. I mean, it seems to have a very distinctive sound. But it does it on both pickups. Because whenever you're sitting there and it's like, yeah, someone commented on it, like people are complaining about, like I was having that rant about that guy with the shim. And it was like, but yeah, the pickups make more difference to the sound. And it's like, yeah, the total pickups I think do make a big difference to the sound, but why do these two pickups, they sound different, but they both sound the same. They've both got a thing, which none of the other guitars you can see in the wall have. But the pickups have nothing to do with each other. Okay, they're both actually, well, that's from an Ibanez Rocket Roll and that's from a Gibson Flying V, but there must be something to do, and it's like to do with the shape and the fact that these big bits here must vibrate or something, and they don't here in the neck. There's other things going on. I feel sorry for the guy who obviously he wanted to upgrade the tuners on his guitar, so he's bought probably the only aftermarket ones you can get, real Grovers. And I don't know if you can really see that there, but the Flying V headstock is quite fat, so it's not actually the Grover. The pick tuners aren't long enough to go through the headstock, so he's had to kind of recess the bolts in the top. It's like, poor guy who had to do that. But I'm glad they were done, because that could be construed as weak points for these guitars. Although in saying that, it's like I've got a couple of them there. I mean, those tuners have survived. They're not. It's not like they're not the fancy looking ones. I mean, it's just the ones that they just look like crappy ones. But how can they be crap tuners? This guitar's from 1974, and they still work. Look, the yellow one there and the white one in the corner both still have their tuners that are like that from the 70s, and they work. Therefore, argument to be had for, no, they're really fucking good tuners. But not necessarily on the Arbiter. I don't really know what the Arbiter would have had. I would be tempted to say that this is the original bridge and thingy, because they're sort of chrome and dead pitted. But like I've been talking for an awful long time. This might have to do for 2 days when I'm away. Grant guitars, they ordered guitars from Japan with their own badge on it and stuff. But the guitar was kind of set, And it's like, hey, what toppings would you like on your pizza? It's like, you got just a margherita, you can have just a or what toppings you like, and so you could actually choose whether some, in the case of the Les Pauls, there are like Columbus ones where they have spec'd Gotoh tuners, Gotoh pickups, you know, big pots, these sort of things, something like that. That white one, the Tempest, has that. It's got upgraded pickups. Or you could go put the cheapest stuff you can on. I'm trying to sell a Les Paul for £99. You know, it's got so, and that's basically what the grant was. So the tuners you get on them are like, you'll literally see if you just hold on to it right and really just give it a good. You can just basically pull them off the guitar, as in the tin that the tuners are made of just bends and snaps. Pretty cheap, and then you get your fake humbuckers. So it's possible this might have been a cheaply spec guitar. The guitar itself would be the same. Amazing neck. I mean, the rosewood that the fingerboard's made of is absolutely glorious. It looked really shit when I looked it out earlier on. I was like, oh my god, gone all mouldy and all that. But just the wee slightest touch of that linseed oil, linseed oil, and it just totally came back up. It's a stunning piece of wood. I'm not sure. There's definitely been a headstock break at the back where it snapped forward and then it's been dropped again, and because they've reinforced the bit that breaks all the time, it's broke somewhere else. So I don't know where the next break will be, but it'll not be on the repair I did, which I didn't even bother sanding down. I kind of just a junk flying V into it. I wasn't expecting it to be brilliant. There's definitely something about, see, sticking it in your leg and wedge it down. You can really push down on the guitar, and it's like you're getting pushed into the ground. Yeah, I need to get another band in the go so I can play a flying V. Everyone's bound to hate you for playing a flying V. Look at that dick playing a flying V. How are you going to play that? Well, I'm going to play it like that. I also react, see when you, for doing that, because of where you're holding it, like the centre of balance is right there. So when you're pulling a solo, it's dead easy to lift the guitar up and go. Nobody ever talks about a flying V. This video's going on for far too long. This will just be 2 days worth of video. But I mean, nobody ever talks about the tone of a flying V, do they? Why? It's always the tone of the Les Paul. Always the tone, and I love the tone. It's like, because obviously, like, what guitars have tone? Gibson Les Pauls have tone. I looked it up on the internet. What? Flying V. Better than any Les Paul I've ever played. Well, it comes down to if you were going to give me one of the two of them, I would take the one that was worth more money and sell it, right? I wouldn't keep it. But I mean, if it really was a case of, would I rather, you're not allowed to sell it, you're never allowed to, you've been banished to an Outer Hebrides, so you're on an island, you're never allowed to buy any more guitars or take any off the island. Would you rather have this or the Gibson Les Paul I've got through there? This, 100% of the time, there's no competition in that. Yeah. So, big long video. Don't complain if there's not a video every night of the week. Catch you later.